Hey, thanks very much. Welcome back. It's 6 minutes past the hour. We have picked up 2 degrees in the past hour. Just as I promised you, we're at 42 degrees right now. On our way to 57 on a partly cloudy day. A little bit of wind out of the northwest at 10 to 20 miles an hour. Assemblyman Kirk Conover has just left the building. Ladies and gentlemen, Chuck Malamut is here. He is our exclusive financial advisor for the Hurley in the Morning program, Hurley in the Morning charity for that matter. Chuck is the managing director and leads his team, the Malamut Group, at Morgan Stanley's Northfield, New Jersey office for all of your financial planning needs. Turn to Chuck and his great team. It's a really, really great team. You have Chuck, you have Mike, you have Nancy, you have Kristen, a wonderful group. The Malamut Group at Morgan Stanley's Northfield office, 609-383-2010. And the program that you're about to listen to melodiously is presented by Chuck Malamut, a financial advisor at Morgan Stanley. The information, views, and opinions expressed on this broadcast are those of Chuck. They do not necessarily reflect those of Morgan Stanley or its affiliates. They are current as of the date of this broadcast, subject to change without notice. Neither the information provided nor any opinion expressed herein constitutes a solicitation for the purchase or sale of any security. This presentation is for informational purposes only. Morgan Stanley, Smith Barney, member SIPC. And in 40 minutes, we'll be joined by Atlantic City Mayor Don Guardian. Chuck Malamut, top of the morning to you, my good friend.
Good morning, Harry.
See, Chuck, Kirk wanted less volume. You want more.
Perfect. Thank you. I know you're here.
My job's never easy.
You're here to please.
I'm here to please. I'm service-minded.
Tough hour to follow, and tough after your 6 o'clock hour. But we'll do the best we can, Harry, to keep it going because I know it.
Yeah, we don't want to bring it down.
8:45 or so, give or take. Then there'll be another exciting 10 or 15 minutes.
Now, I said this right before you walked in or as you were walking in with Kirk. We had a really nice content-heavy hour. It was really, really good. And, Chuck, your hour is very, very important as well. And market update time is yours.
Well, Harry, it seems as if over the last several weeks – we've been, for lack of better word or wording, we've been treading water.
Better than losing ground.
Yeah, but we've had an inordinate amount of our clients just step to the sideline. You know, when we bring an actual idea, whether it's fixed income or equities or in our managed money platform, everybody, it doesn't much matter what side you're on, but it seems as if the great majority are now just sort of taking a step back, and they're saying, I want to wait for the election.
Understandable.
So, you know, having said all that, you know, not certain how this is going to go. I mean, obviously, as we have chatted about in the past couple of weeks, all the research that we read has the Democrat, you know, winning and what the market's going to do as a result of that. Now, obviously, the intelligence that you are receiving is telling us something different. So
remember, I was the one that said how Brexit was going to go. All the intellectuals, you know, all said that it was going the other way, and I think we're experiencing the same thing. I look at momentum. I look at dispassionate numbers. I look at things like people waiting 12 hours to get into a rally of one person. I look at the other side drawing 30 at a rally. I look at I will tell you the early voting is in the key battleground states very illustrative in terms of where the momentum is. So I turn off the static noise just like I did with that whole Brexit thing, because sometimes the media pushes, many times they push their agenda as opposed to pushing really the truth that's happening as it's unfolding, and that's why they were so surprised. How do you go from winning Brexit 60-40 to losing it 53-47? How do you do that? Well,
Harry, I think if you look at that vote and in a way, as you got up to the vote, there was a number of times where the bookies, the London legitimate bookies, actually changed their position to one of, you know, to at the very end, saying, okay, Brexit will lose and there'll be no change. And obviously, you know, we all know the outcome.
Let me ask you this, though, because you're pretty smart, really, really smart when it comes to numbers. Isn't that them wanting money on both sides? A bookie wants money on both sides of the action. And so they create interest by saying it switched. Oh, well, let's get on that side now. Then at the end, they always go to where they think it's going to turn out, and they were wrong. Anything wrong? Anything wrong with that statement?
No,
I said?
Harry, they were wrong, and it's
By the way, did you know that right now in the same place that you're speaking about, the same bookies are betting 65% that Trump wins the presidency?
Harry, I was not aware of that, so
That's why I'm here.
So I think what will happen is, and so we're 2 weeks.
Pretty interesting, though, isn't it?
Yeah, 2 weeks from today, it'll be. I think this will be a very, very well. I think it's going to be a long night. I'm not quite certain that with the polls close at 8:00 here.
But then you have, of course,
and
the
then
West Coast.
They close across the country.
And in Florida, you have the Panhandle section that's open later. So I think it is going to be probably a long night, and I think it's going to be a close election. I think it definitely will be. And I'm not surprised to hear you say that people are sort of in a holding pattern because, look, the thing is right around the corner. So we're going to know soon enough which way this is going to tip, and then that will affect markets.
Oh, Harry, the market does make moves on an interim basis right now as we approach that the second Tuesday in November, where depending upon how the polls go and who says what to whom and to what extent and what the breaking news of the day is, the markets are reacting to that.
What's that slang expression that I've heard in your industry, Chuck? You buy on you sell on the rumor. You buy on what's that expression? What is that expression?
You buy on the rumor and you sell on the news.
There you go.
So if we if we have the correct information, then investors have the ability to reshape their portfolios if necessary. But I think the one important thing that if you take away anything from this is that on November the 9th, I don't think a whole lot is going to be different from November the 7th or 8th.
It shouldn't be. We're still the United States of America. How about this, Chuck? The S&P 500 that I've been bringing up for the better part of the last several months, as that stands now, the party in power loses every time.
Yeah. So Harry, I mean, you're help me again with how that prediction works. If the S&P is higher,
the party in power stays
in advance of the election.
Correct. The party in power stays.
Where do they set the initial mark to say, okay, as of a certain date, that's moving forward? If the S&P moves?
I think it's for the year, if I'm not mistaken.
Okay.
I think it's for the year.
So with that being said, the S&P as we know it going into yesterday. And yesterday was a decent day, actually up almost 0.5%. S&P up 6.6, Dow Jones up 6.4, NASDAQ up 6%. The Russell 2000, which were more of your small caps, up over 8.5%. And the winner, globally speaking, continues to be the MSCI emerging markets. And that's up 17%. And a lot of that.
Why doesn't it seem like that's? I mean, I could be wrong, but why doesn't it seem like?
Because from a total market capitalization, it doesn't carry a lot of weight compared to the MSCI EFA, which is for developed countries, versus your domestic indexes here. But I think when you look at the MSCI emerging markets, a lot of that is tied to commodities, and the fact that the Brent, crude oil is up almost 40% year to date, obviously has a positive impact on the emerging markets.
We're going to take a brief time out. He is Chuck Malamut. I am Hurley in the Morning. An analysis was just released. I'm not a fan of the early voting. I love the fact, or I would wish there'd be one election day, first Tuesday in November. Unless the first Tuesday is the first of the month, then it's the second Tuesday, which is the case this year. So this is the latest that an election can ever be. It's challenging because it is almost like a whole nother week of campaigning. But that's just the nature of the calendar. Every so often, the 1st of November is a Tuesday. But it's very interesting. The early voting that is happening in the battleground states, Republicans are up 2% or 1 million ballots as of, I believe, yesterday. And that's not what your media is telling you. They're making it look like it's going the other way. So this is going to be a very, very interesting election, whether the media wants it to be or not. Back with Chuck Malamut. All about your financial matters. We continue in just a few minutes. For more than 20 years, the D'Amato Law Firm has served as the official lead counsel to the Hurley in the Morning program. Led by certified civil trial attorney Paul D'Amato, the D'Amato Law Firm focuses their practice in representing those who have been seriously injured in construction, products liability, and motor vehicle collisions. The D'Amato Law Firm expertly handles cases throughout the country, but their primary focus is on representing victims injured right here at home in southern New Jersey. They've earned a reputation for excellence. From direct personal experience, I can readily confirm that the D'Amato Law Firm's overall competence, attention to detail, follow-up systems are outstanding, and they truly shine during your moment of truth before judge and jury. The D'Amato Law Firm is centrally located in Atlantic County at 2900 Fire Road, Suite 200. That's the second floor in Egg Harbor Township, New Jersey. That's the corner of Fire Road and the Black Horse Pike. For all of your personal injury legal needs, turn with confidence to the region's leader in the field of personal injury. They're the D'Amato Law Firm. Call 609-926-3300. That's 609-926-3300. And please tell the D'Amato Law Firm that Hurley in the Morning sent you.
We had a great time at the Glow. The artwork on the jack-o'-lanterns was spectacular.
My son and I loved the giant pumpkin dinosaur.
My favorite was the pirate ship.
There's something for everyone at The Glow. Now open every Friday, Saturday, and Sunday in October at Monmouth Park Racetrack. The Glow brings to life a spectacular pumpkin wonderland with more than 5,000 illuminated jack-o'-lanterns. Marvel through a quarter-mile walk down Jack's Lane, a magical world where you'll experience everything from elaborately detailed single pumpkin carvings to amazing larger-than-life structures.
The live carving was really awesome to watch. This might just be our new Halloween family tradition.
Tickets are now on sale, starting at $16, and they must be purchased in advance. Early time slots are selling out. Visit theglowjackolantern.com to grab your tickets today. That's theglowjackolantern.com. The Glow, now open every Friday, Saturday, and Sunday in October at Monmouth Park Racetrack. Visit theglowjackolantern.com. That's theglowjackolantern.com.
This is Harry Hurley asking you to join Mike Gill and I on Thanksgiving morning, Thursday, November 24th, beginning at 9 a.m. for the 88th annual meeting of Atlantic City High School versus Holy Spirit High School football. This year to be held at storied Ed Burns Stadium at Holy Spirit. Catch all of the live action on WPG Talk Radio, 104.1 FM, 1450 AM, or WPGTalkRadio.com. Thank you to our following presenting sponsors: Senator Jeff Andrew, Dr. Harvey Kesselman in Stockton University, Jim Wood, Mead AC, the D'Amato Law Firm, Nancy and Kirk Conover's The Shore Agency, Super Fred Nichols, the Auto Plaza at English Creek, the Klein Construction Company, Chuck Malamut from Morgan Stanley, Atlantic City Electric, the City of Atlantic City, Assemblyman Vince Palestina and Associates, Assemblyman Chris Brown, Atlantic County Executive Dennis Levinson, the Shore Medical Center, President Ron Johnson, and Atlantic City Jitney Association. Catch all the action Thanksgiving morning. See you there.
Hi, it's Mark Levin. Join me at 6 this evening. Now back to the Mayor of the Morning, Harry Hurley, on WPG Talk Radio 104.1, South Jersey's talk station.
19 minutes past the hour. Chuck Malamut is here, and we're still on the market update, Chuck.
All right, so Harry, let's take a quick step back because we are in the throes of earnings, as you know. I mean, this week alone, 1/3 of the S&P companies do in fact report. So last week, the overall market S&P was up less than 0.5%. Earnings, for the most part, were pretty solid. It looks like there has been a fair amount of stabilization that's been taking place in China as well. There was a merger and acquisition news came last week, and as late as last week into the weekend, and announced Sunday was the AT&T Time Warner deal,
yeah.
which
that's huge.
We'll save that for a minute, okay? Because that might just be worthy of a fairly extensive discussion, and today might not be the time for that, only because, Harry, it's very, very fluid at this point in time with a lot going on. But
personally, I don't think that's going to be permitted to occur. That's my guess. That does depend on who wins, though. Go ahead. We'll I'll follow your guide on that.
All right. We'll hold that because again, that could be a pretty lengthy discussion. So, as we looked at last week, what did work were materials, financials, consumer discretionary, and technology, which did not work. Telecommunications, industrials, and consumer staples. They, in fact, lagged over the course of the weeks. But, for the most part, Harry, third quarter earnings have been pretty strong. I mean, think about as we approach an earnings season, typically what has been happening here over the last, several years. It seems as if as we get in front of the earnings or prior to the earnings, a number of strategists and analysts go out and of late have been downgrading, the earnings. So, if you look, this quarter, analysts ended up cutting third quarter earnings expectations by about 8% since the start of the year. And that was bigger than the downward revisions in the first two quarters. So while early third quarter earnings, Harry, have beaten these reduced expectations at a higher than average rate, however, here's the problem. Fewer companies are increasing or raising their future guidance in a typical quarter. You know how they come in and make their announcements and say, okay, we beat on the revenue, we beat on the bottom line, and we're going to raise our fourth quarter earnings. Well, that's not happening right now, and because of all this uncertainty with the political landscape, a lot of companies right now, Harry, we talked about the individual investor, is basically taking a step back and waiting. A lot of companies domiciled here in the U.S., it gives them more of a reason to hold off on making future investments in their respective companies until such point in time as that we get some clarification as to where we go. So, as I mentioned, there's a third of the companies that are coming this week. The earnings this morning, for the most part that I've seen, have been relatively good. But if we're going to kind of push the ball forward here, Harry, I think what is very, very important is that earnings beats in this environment as we're living through it are not enough to kind of push the market. You think about the market. We have been in a very, very tight trading range as we came out of the summer. U.S. valuations are now being pushed on relatively speaking to what we have seen historically speaking. So we need your friends at the Fed to be really, really transparent.
I think the Fed chair is distracted and mired in politics right now. I mean, instead of reading, and I do a lot of reading, Chuck, and I know you do as well. And I read, solid business news, but I also read the geopolitical stuff and how it relates. And Janet Yellen right now is more active in explaining that she'll resist resigning if Donald Trump wins than she is in doing her job. Just an observation from the peanut gallery.
Yeah, Harry, certainly not unnoticed. So again, we need that clarification with future Fed policy. And I'd seen actually, Harry, as early as this morning, one of the Fed presidents actually predicting three
rate increases,
3 rate hikes in 2017.
Wow,
that's after the quote annual rate hike that we're going to probably see in December.
So they go from 10 years and nothing to 3, 4 in a year.
Well, again, remember this was one. I mean, this was just the polling of one of the Fed presidents. I think that obviously,
but that's probably somebody that is in the know in terms of what people are saying too, though.
Yeah. So what happens is that we need to clearly understand what the Fed's direction is going to do. Not that we're going to talk politics, but politics are obviously very, very important as to where we're going as far as investors' risk appetite is concerned, and obviously the performance of the equity markets as we get into the future. So, Harry, this is, we've been doing this a long time. You've been doing what you've been doing a long time, and I think for the first time, I've never ever seen anything like this before.
Because there's never been anything like it.
Yes,
that's
so
why you haven't. It's a
I guess,
first.
I guess, very simplistically speaking, I guess there's your answer. But we all, I think, are exhausted from the whole process. I can't imagine how Donald Trump and Hillary Clinton are feeling at this point in time. Emotionally. As far as their stability and their stamina is concerned, and
people that don't know
their
Chuck,
mental and physical health. It's very, very trying.
People that don't know this business don't understand what it is like. You're up so many hours every day. You're waiting every single day for some bad news to drop. And when is it going to be timed for maximum damage? Very stressful. Physically,
absolutely,
demanding.
yeah. I mean, physically, mentally, emotionally. I mean, I'm sure they're both waiting for this den. They can't wait for den. I'm guessing at this point.
Yeah, they each want to win, but they probably each want it to be over. Chuck, how about this? I think we have about 3 minutes before the bottom of the hour break. Is there room to be concerned that there is inflation?
Harry. Yeah, I mean, what has happened here over the last 12, 18, 24 months? Investors have become very, very complacent about inflation. I know that you took me to the woodshed last week when we talked about GDP, and you were right. I will tell your listeners that
Chris Coleman marked the tape 8:27 and 39 seconds.
That never
on Tuesday, October 20th.
In the last 8 years, we've not seen 3% GDP. All right,
so
okay. Maybe I just made a mistake. So
listen, I'm just here.
We're all entitled.
I'm just here to help.
So anyway, the growth that we're seeing is moving somewhat modestly in a positive direction.
Let me ask you a rhetorical question, and this is tricky. Do you think anyone has the answer and it's just not being employed? How do we get back? I mean, I remember I was a young broadcaster, and I remember saying, holy cow, George H.W. Bush is going to lose the election, and we're growing at 4.6% GDP, and they're calling it the worst economy in America in 50 years. We're now growing fractionally to barely 1%. Occasionally it's getting, revised upward, and then it gets revised downward.
Harry,
and then it gets,
the answer is easy.
That's what I'm asking.
I mean, it's so simple.
What is the answer
scary.
to get back to 3 and 4 and 5% GDP?
I know that you were chatting about Congressman Lobiondo in the last hour, and he and his constituents, and those in the Senate, and the person that is leading our country, and all the various entities and agencies, they need to back off, and they need to let business run businesses. I mean, if you take a look at the number of governmental employees that are now involved watching these various industries, whether it's oil and gas or oil and gas exploration or
it's true.
Financial services.
You get tortured. EPA, this group, that group.
It just doesn't end. And I mean, you look at here in the state of New Jersey, like how difficult it is to do business.
Hey, Chuck Malamut, I have long maintained on this program that if they would do nothing, if they literally would do nothing, they could stay home, do nothing. It's like a doctor, do no harm. Hippocratic oath. We would be better off with them doing nothing.
Oh, Harry, I agree with you.
Because as you know, any money, Kirk was talking about the velocity of money, how and Bob from Cape May talked about another aspect of the velocity of money and how things work. If you let people know what the rules are, they'll vigorously play by them and figure the game out. But when you keep changing it, or you don't know, or you're not going to buy this because you think they're going to find some tree frog and they're going to stop your project, I mean, it's literally happening in America today. Brief time out. It's halftime. If Chuck is not done yet talking about the potential uptick in inflation, he will finish that when we come back. Chuck is going to give us a very important discussion about infrastructure spending in 2017, the new year ahead. And is there a year-end rally in the offering? It is almost 31 minutes past the hour. A reminder for all of your financial planning needs, turn to Chuck Malamut, the Malamut Group, for all of your financial planning needs, 609-383-2828. 2010 is their hotline, 609-383-2010. Atlantic City Mayor Don Guardian joining us in 20 minutes. We will have Liddy Denier, the wife, I said wife earlier, I take that back, former fiance to former United States Ambassador to Libya, Christopher Stevens. She will be with us. Wait until you hear about what she experienced at the third presidential debate. She was an invited guest by Donald Trump. She was to sit in the front row. She had her credentials and everything. We're going to share with you. Liddy will share with you what happened, and then you can maybe have a different impression about the so-called nonpartisan commission on presidential debates. That's coming up at 9:05, and at 9:35, at least Atlantic City Councilman at Large George Tibbett, possibly joined by Frank Gilliam Jr. as well, two members of City Council, both of them councilmen at large.
The stakes have never been higher.
If the ballot question passes, 2 more casinos, possibly 3, will close.
Join WPG Talk Radio 104.1 for a live broadcast of the No North Jersey Casinos Coalition's rally at Kennedy Plaza on the Atlantic City Boardwalk, Thursday morning, October 27th at 10:30. The rally will support the defeat of the upcoming November ballot question that would permit casino gaming in North Jersey.
When you look at a gaming market that was once 5.2, 5.3 billion, and now it's about half of that, that's still the 3rd largest gaming jurisdiction in the world.
The rally will be hosted by WPG's Harry Hurley, and you are encouraged to attend and show your support to keep casino gaming exclusive to Atlantic City. It's the No North Jersey Casinos Coalition rally on the Boardwalk in Atlantic City at Kennedy Plaza, Thursday morning, October 27th, starting at 10:30. Live on WPG Talk Radio 104.1, South Jersey's talk station.
Hi, I'm Congressman Frank Lobiando. I believe that my job in Congress is not only to start good things, but to stop bad things from happening. When government bureaucrats refuse to approve a cancer vaccine equally for both girls and boys, I stepped in to change that rule. When my own party held up recovery funds after Sandy hit us, I took them on, and we won. And when veterans were forced to travel out of state for health care, I brought in new local clinics, additional staff, and expanded services. But there's much more to do. My mission is to protect South Jersey's way of life. I've always put South Jersey first, putting people before politics. And I will be by your side no matter what. I'm very grateful to be your congressman, and it's a great honor to represent you in Congress. I'm asking for your support on November 8th. I'm Frank Lobiando, and I approve this message. Paid for by Lobiando for Congress.
Honey, I'm really worried about our retirement funds.
Oh, me too. We lost so much value in the recession in the stock market. I'm worried we won't have enough to retire.
Jim next door told me that he had set up a new kind of IRA with the Gold Silver Group. He said how simple and safe it was. It's a private storage IRA, and we could have real gold and silver in our hands.
Really? You mean we can actually see it and touch it?
Absolutely. Jim said we could have all the benefits of an IRA to help build our retirement income. Bottom line, we would own a real tangible asset, and we would have the security of knowing we're protected no matter what the economy does. What do you think?
I think we need to find out how to get our own private storage IRA. We need to call the Gold Silver Group right now.
Are you ready to protect your future? Call 800-421-3432 now to find out how easy and safe it is to set up a private storage IRA with Gold Silver Group, and find out how you can qualify for up to $700 in free silver. All transactions are privately delivered and fully insured. Please call us now. 800-421-3432. 800-421-3432.
Hi, my name's Joe Kelly. I'm president of the Greater Atlantic City Chamber. I'd like to invite you to the No North Jersey Casino Coalition Get Out the Vote rally this Thursday, October 27th, 10:30 at Kennedy Plaza in Atlantic City, right across from Boardwalk Hall. We've arranged for free parking at the hall. Join others that are voting no on question 1 November 8th. There's never been an issue more important. Please join me at the rally this Thursday, October 27th, 10:30. Thank you.
Do you feel like you've been taken advantage of?
Did your home improvement contractor take your money and disappear without finishing the job?
Want to make sure the doctor you're about to see has a clean professional record?
Would you like to know more about an investment or a business before you hand over your hard-earned money?
Hi, I'm Steve Lee, Director of the New Jersey Division of Consumer Affairs. I'm here to tell everyone about the valuable services and resources the division has to offer. From investigating your complaints about businesses that have ripped you off, to providing you with the information you need to make wise consumer choices, the Division of Consumer Affairs is committed to keeping you safe in the marketplace. Call us at 973-504-6200 or visit us online at njconsumeraffairs.gov. That's njconsumeraffairs.gov.
Take advantage of NJ Consumer Affairs.
So no one takes advantage of you.
This message sponsored by NJ Consumer Affairs, the New Jersey Broadcasters Association, and this station.
Hi, remember this is Tony Lando with Hurley in the morning. Keep listening.
Hurley in the morning. With Chuck Malamut, 36 minutes past the hour. Chuck, we were speaking about the potential uptick in inflation. That is not a topic on your program today for no reason. There is at least the suspicion that that's happening, isn't it?
Well, Harry, yeah. I mean, for sure. If you take a look, we are seeing and potentially we'll see an uptick somewhat in inflation. That is going to continue to put more pressure, on the Fed, and could very well act as a headwind, for bonds and equity valuations as we get into the next several months. I think that one of the topics we were going to chat about was going to be infrastructure.
Yes,
infrastructure spending.
Yep.
So it's likely to increase in 2017. And again, you're going to probably take me out to the woodshed because what I read says that the Democrats going to win, and with that being the case,
and what you read said that Brexit was going to go the other way too.
Harry, I'm just merely.
You do admit that, though.
I will admit that for sure, but you're going to see. I think the plan is going to be to emphasize infrastructure. I mean, and I think both sides agree that that's potentially going to happen.
And this is not – I'm not teasing with this. Has the financial wonderkind, have they made their analysis of who will win the Senate? I don't think there's much argument about the House, but do they believe –
It's up for grabs.
Okay, so they think that the Democrat is going to become president. They think the Senate is like a 50-50 sort of pick 'em up for grabs, jump ball, and that the House will stay Republican.
That's correct.
Okay.
So
go ahead.
There's a very, very high probability that this infrastructure will be supported on both sides, so to speak. So if we end up with some sort of corporate tax reform and can you imagine repatriate these earnings, bring them back here into the states, what that would mean, for our country. So one of the things that you mentioned
but
before,
only one side is talking about that.
Yes,
not the other.
But what you mentioned before was that what is it going to do to fix? Mm-hmm. And again, I think that in addition to keeping government, out of the way, so to speak, and
Chuck, if we
being a friend, not a foe.
Talking about velocity of money and all these different things that we were talking about last hour and feathered right into your hour, what would it mean to America if $2.5 to $5 trillion came back in?
Well, Harry, you do the math. I mean, we're struggling with GDP.
It would be beautiful.
I mean, I'm thinking you probably would be certainly well north of 3, probably in the 4.5, maybe even pushing 5, and that's what we need at this point.
Wouldn't it just logically, if past is prologue, and it typically is, it would spawn investment. It would create jobs. It would be spectacular. Potentially.
Yeah, and one of the things we just chatted about before, I think maybe the first break is the fact that, U.S. companies right now are just, sitting back and holding off and making the necessary investment to grow their respective companies. I mean, mergers and acquisitions are fine, but there's only so many that can and will be done. And the fact of the matter, Harry, I think you're seeing a fairly big push right now to get these done or at least get them started before we get to January, because come January, who knows where we're going to be.
Exactly. Chuck, you and I used to be senior operations executives. We knew how many rooms we were going to rehab. We knew what, improvements we were going to make. We knew how many millions of dollars we had in our budget to be able to do certain things. So we had an idea every single year, and we had to do it a year in advance. What infrastructure improvements are we going to make? We have decaying roads, bridges. We have all kinds of problems in this country, and we don't even know going into 2017 what infrastructure spending is going to take place, do we?
Well, Harry, take a look just here, in the state of New Jersey with what the governor did with respect to the New Jersey State Transportation Trust Fund, and the fact that, basically, stopping all work and until they were able to get the gas tax / sales tax / estate tax, signed off. And, we're obviously, one of 50 states we have a major infrastructure problem here. It does. And imagine, Harry, if we have a very, very challenging cold winter, what that will do, to our highways.
Does anybody have a handle on whether this is going to be used to pay off this extraordinary debt that we've already amassed, or will it actually go towards roads and bridges? See, I'm not clear on that.
Harry, I don't think that has been
because
discussed and evaluated.
Would be terrible that if we raised it 23 cents a gallon to pay off this horrible billions and billions of debt that we have, and that we still have potholes and patches being done on roads, and we've got a lot of work to do.
We have a lot of work to do, Harry, for sure. Absolutely.
All right, year-end rally is, in your estimation, is it in the cards? 2-minute drill.
Well, Harry, I think that as we get to the end of the year, interest rates, bond yields, they're probably going to move both higher. With respect to equities, you still have a lot of this uncertainty, with respect to who wins and what to extent, and what happens with the Senate. But valuations right now are becoming pretty expensive, and stocks, Harry, don't be at all surprised if we do take somewhat of a step back here. Rising yields, could in fact put pressure more on equity stocks, but we don't expect a sharp decline like we've had in the past. It might be, I think maybe somewhat muted. Pessimism with our economy, we talked about earlier today, is extremely high. Investors have a high level of cash. We talked about that as well this morning. So that typically doesn't indicate that you've made highs in the equity markets, but technical indicators that we look at don't signal an end to the bull market that we've had. We are somewhat in that pause. They might be a little bit, equities might be a little bit overbought slightly since what we came out of with Brexit after we had that sell-off. So I think, Harry, you're going to see maybe a near-term pause or some mild correction, but an improving economy, earnings moving in the right direction and profits moving in the right direction are obviously really, really solid for long-term positive results within the equity market.
Something I want to do down the road with Chuck, and even independent of Chuck's program every week on Tuesdays, I want to show you what happens when everybody says, oh my gosh, if you vote to leave the European Union, oh my gosh, it's going to go down the tubes. Kirk Conover shared this morning, there is one indice that's down, and it's understandable because it's still not even, been fully handled yet. It's still just being talked about how the exit will take place, but unemployment is down. Other indices that are favorable are up, and I think that the United Kingdom voting to get out is going to turn out to be a very good thing for them.
It could be, Harry, but unfortunately, as you know, the sterling, the pound,
that's
basically took it on the chin, and it's down fairly significantly. It's going to be quite some time before I think there's any sort of recovery with that particular currency.
As always, all-star appearance, Chuck. For all of your financial planning needs, turn to the Malamut Group. We will reconvene in 1 week. That will be T-minus 7 days before Decision 2016, and then 7 days after that, during Chuck's program, literally, the polls will have been open for 2 hours on Election Day itself. Chuck will be here. 609-383-2010 for all of your financial planning needs. The program you just listened to was presented by Chuck Malamut, a financial advisor at Morgan Stanley. The information, views, and opinions expressed on this broadcast are those of Chuck. They do not necessarily reflect those of Morgan Stanley or its affiliates. They are current as of the date of this broadcast and are subject to change without notice. Neither the information provided nor any opinion expressed herein constitutes a solicitation for the purchase or sale of any security. This presentation is for informational purposes only. Morgan Stanley Smith Barney, member SIPC. Chuck, well done, my friend.
Harry, thanks again for having me. See you next week.
You got it, buddy. When we come back, Atlantic City Mayor Don Guardian next.